Chapter 166, Taming the Ancient Ruins 16. The headache persisted after Lu's sonic attack, but Harold ignored it through sheer willpower as his transformed body moved with supernatural speed. The metallic floor beneath his feet hummed with energy as he darted between his opponents. His two beasts gave him an overwhelming advantage against the lower-ranked guards, who were clearly trained for support roles rather than direct combat. Even against 5 opponents, the battle remained evenly matched, though only through his monstrous power. Luna's wolf and the giant goat charged in a coordinated pincer attack, their movements perfectly synchronized. Harold spun, his chitinous segments gleaming in the strange light, while his antennae captured every movement. His transformed arm struck the wolf, sending it crashing against the wall, while he dodged the goat's charge. The beasts rose more slowly than before, accumulated damage beginning to show in their labored movements and dull reactions. "Containment!" one of the guards shouted, her voice echoing off the curved crystal walls. The antenna of Venus extended more of its roots, creating a network of vines attempting to limit Harold's movement space. Simultaneously, the bubble coral generated strategically positioned crystalline barriers, forming an improvised labyrinth. "They're trying to buy time," Harold analyzed while his antennae mapped each obstacle with inhuman precision. "But their vanguard is trapped in the ruins." The ambushed firefly took advantage of the coral's reflective surfaces to multiply its light attacks. The rays bounced between barriers, creating a network of luminous energy that would have been lethal to a normal opponent, each beam ricocheting through the improvised arena. But Harold was far from normal. His chitinous armor, hardened by abyssal energy, barely showed surface marks where the rays impacted, the attacks dissipating harmlessly against his supernatural defense. The wolf attempted another attack, emerging from a shadow, to bite his leg. Harold kicked it with brutal force, his antennae already detecting the goat trying to capitalize on the distraction. He spun using the momentum from striking the wolf and connected a punch to the transport beast's side. "We can't contain him," the coral guard shouted while creating more barriers, her voice tight with strain. The Venus's roots extended more aggressively, trying to create zones where Harold couldn't move freely. But his chitinous claws cut through the vegetation like paper, green fragments flying in the air around him. The firefly increased the intensity of its attacks, making the crystal barriers practically sing with bouncing energy. It was a beautiful and lethal spectacle, light fragmenting and multiplying to crystalline maze, but still insufficient against Harold's supernatural defense. Luna directed her wolf, trying to capitalize on every opening her guards created, but each successful attack barely scratched the surface of Harold's armor. And with each exchange, their beasts showed more signs of exhaustion, their movements becoming slower and less coordinated. If this were about escaping, the antenna Venus guard thought while Harold destroyed another barrier, we'd be far away by now. But she couldn't abandon her companions trapped in the seed, nor her protection mission. While the guards couldn't defeat him, Harold also couldn't simply ignore them and continue his way. A moment of carelessness against 5 opponents, however individually weak, could be fatal. The wolf emerged from another shadow, this time targeting his neck. Harold caught it midair with one hand, but had to release his grip when the goat rammed his side. The Venus's roots took advantage to entangle his legs while the firefly concentrated its attacks on his eyes. Harold broke free with a burst of strength, but the pattern repeated itself. For every offensive movement he made, the guards responded with a combination of defensive tactics and opportunistic counterattacks. It was an exhausting stalemate, where the only real difference was that the guard's beast gradually tired while he maintained his monstrous power practically intact. Luna watched as her wolf retreated from another failed exchange, its fangs having barely scratched Harold's carapace. It was frustrating. Her bites were effective when they connected, but getting close enough was increasingly dangerous as damage accumulated in her wolf. "Your light attacks," she called to the firefly guard. "If they were more powerful—" "I know," the guard responded while her bronze rank 1 beast continued firing rays that bounced uselessly off Harold's armor, sweat beading on her brow. "But his defense is too strong." Luna observed how the light rays reflected off the crystal barriers, and an idea began forming in her mind. "Let's use light and shadow synergy," she shouted while her wolf merged with darkness. "If we combine our energies—" The guard caught the idea, but seemed reluctant. "It's a difficult attack to set up. The preparation is slow, and with that monster speed. Let's try it. Luna began extending shadows behind Harold, creating a zone of denser darkness. If I can trap him, hit him with everything. Harold, however, had been sensing the mana. His antennae vibrated, capturing the increase in shadow energy behind him. When Luna tried to manipulate the darkness to trap him, he simply leaped forward, his chitinous claws destroying another crystal barrier. The impact sent crystalline fragments scattering across the metal floor. The Firefly's concentrated ray passed harmlessly through the space where Harold should have been. Damn it! Luna gritted her teeth. He's too fast. But the giant goat guard had been observing the exchange. Her eyes followed Harold's movements, calculating each dodge and counter. Again! She shouted while her beast positioned itself. But this time, she quickly shared her plan with Luna and the Firefly guard, their eyes lighting with understanding. Luna began expanding the shadows again, this time creating multiple smaller dark zones. Harold responded as they expected, his antennae extended while analyzing each shadow area for the real trap. The Firefly began charging its most powerful attack, luminous energy accumulating as it bounced between crystal barriers, amplifying with each reflection until the air itself seemed to hum with power. Harold saw the pattern coming and dodged, or so he thought. When Luna tried to trap him with the shadows, he jumped again, directly toward the goat that had been silently moving into position. The impact was brutal. The goat connected with all its strength, driving Harold toward the densest shadow zone. For an instant, his perfect balance shattered. Now! Luna shouted while her wolf emerged from the shadows, its fangs finding purchase on Harold's leg, holding him in position for one crucial fraction of a second. Chapter 167, Taming the Ancient Ruins 17. The impact was brutal. The goat connected with all its strength, driving Harold toward the densest shadow zone. For an instant, his perfect balance shattered. Now! Luna shouted while her wolf emerged from the shadows, its fangs finding purchase on Harold's leg, holding him in position for one crucial fraction of a second. The Firefly's ray, charged to maximum power and amplified by dozens of reflections in the crystal barriers, struck Harold directly. The light energy blazed with extra blinding intensity as it impacted Harold's shadow-shrouded form, creating a reaction that not even his chitinous armor could fully resist. A crack echoed through the chamber as the carapace finally broke, revealing the vulnerable flesh beneath. Harold roared, the first sound of intense pain he hadn't been able to contain, the first he'd emitted since the battle began. The sound reverberated off the ancient walls, primal and filled with fury. We did it! The Firefly guard exclaimed, though her beast panted from the effort of expelling such power. But Luna didn't celebrate. She knew a wounded enemy was even more dangerous. The broken carapace and pain unleashed something in Harold, unbridled rage. His muscles expanded while forcing his transformation beyond safe limits, his form becoming even more monstrous. Flesh and chitin merged and twisted, creating an aberration that barely resembled anything natural. He launched himself at the giant goat with brutal speed. Luna's wolf, still biting the leg, emerged from the shadows as it was yanked by the massive increase in strength, its fangs sinking deeper from the effort. But Harold endured the pain through gritted teeth and raised his leg. With a savage strike, he sent the wolf flying against a crystal wall. A powerful leap made him break through a new crystal barrier and reach the goat. The goat tried to retreat, but it was too late. Harold's venomous jaws, a modification of his abyssal centipede, closed around the beast's neck. The abundant flow of venom coursed through its body and acted almost instantly. The giant goat vanished in an explosion of light, forced to return inside its tamer. No! Luna cried while her wolf rose unsteadily. Without the goat to maintain the power balance, the battle began tilting rapidly. The coral's barriers could no longer contain Harold's frenzied advance as he shattered crystal with blows empowered by his now excessive transformation's enormous body. The antenna of Venus tried creating a root cage, but Harold burned them with acid secretion from his centipede. The Firefly fired rays continuously, seeking the damage zone in his carapace, but without the previous surprise and synergy, it couldn't inflict enough damage. The wolf returned to the shadows to attempt a new attack, but Luna was hesitant as she knew one more hit would eliminate it. The coral guard retreated, trying to maintain distance while creating more barriers, but Harold simply charged through them. He reached in seconds, and a single blow sent her flying and crashing against a crystal barrier. The two hits knocked her unconscious. The antenna of Venus created one last desperate defense, forcing her skill to its maximum, her roots intertwining to trap Harold, who was already upon them. For a moment it seemed to work, the vines wrapping around Harold, limiting his movements. 3 more seconds would be useful for Firefly to charge a final attack aimed at the armor breach. But then he released a wave of acid again, melting the vegetation and reaching the guard behind. She screamed when the acid touched her skin, distracting her long enough for Harold to reach her and silence her with a precise blow that sent her flying too. The goat guard, though beastless, launched herself at Harold with a hidden dagger. It was brave but futile. Harold's armor broke the dagger effortlessly and slammed the girl against the ground with brutal force. The Firefly guard retreated, almost ready to launch another concentrated attack. Luna saw the danger. "Watch out!" she shouted, her wolf launching from the shadows to intercept. But it was too late. Harold's mole attacked from behind the guard, its claws cutting deeply across her back. The scream of pain distracted Luna, who turned to look at the girl for one crucial second. Harold seized that moment of distraction. His claws found the wolf mid-jump, and with a brutal motion, slammed it into Luna. Both fell, the wolf vanishing from damage, while Luna struggled to maintain consciousness and tried to rise. With one last tremendous effort and a scream, Luna stood and used her enhanced speed, forcing her injured wolf to manifest just its claws in her hand. A swift strike at the armor breach. That never landed. Harold caught Luna's wrist. "Game over, bitch," he said, laughing, then pulled and knocked her out. Luna, the strongest first year, fell. He stood over 2 of the fallen guards, his body covered in wounds but his eyes blazing with murderous fury. He lifted them by the neck, ready to enjoy finishing them slowly. "Harold!" A voice called from the side. The other spy emerged partially from his hiding place. "There's too much activity outside. We need to hurry." Harold's damaged antennae vibrated with effort. Despite the pain, he could sense the presences approaching the cracks. Indeed, he had to hurry to obtain the artifacts before they excavated the entire crystal surface of the seed and found the lower cracks through which he planned to escape. With a growl of frustration, he released the guards. Harold tried to retract his transformation, but something was wrong. An involuntary roar escaped his throat while his body began to contort. The modified beast resisted returning, as if the taste of battle had awakened something primitive and hungry. Harold? The other spy watched with growing concern as his companion struggled against his own form. The chitinous segments twisted, antennae vibrating erratically. For several tense moments, it seemed Harold would lose control completely. But finally, with a supreme effort of will, he managed to dominate the beast. Almost. His face still showed marked chitinous patterns, like living scars that refused to disappear. His injured leg and other areas where he'd received damage remained partially transformed, flesh and carapace mixing grotesquely. But at least he had regained control. He grabbed Luna by the hair and began dragging her toward where they kept Leora wrapped. Chapter 168, Killer Tamer. There are many beasts in school that can create coverings, the spy commented worriedly as Harold dragged the poor girl and caught his breath. "I can stay at the academy. Keep my eyes open and continue reporting." Harold looked at him as if he'd lost his mind. "They'll interrogate you after this even if you pretend I kidnapped you. I know it's a big risk. That's why I need you to rough me up a bit." The spy smiled weakly, though his eyes betrayed his nervousness. "Make the situation more believable." "As you wish," Harold shrugged. But when he raised his fist, the patterns on his face intensified, darkening like spilled ink. The rage he had been containing bubbled back to the surface, a primal fury he couldn't fully suppress. The blow was brutal, too brutal. The spy collapsed, barely conscious, blood flowing from his shattered nose and split lip. His head bounced off the metal floor with a sickening thud. "Sorry," Harold muttered, his claws retracting slowly as worry at his own lack of control settled in. I overdid it." On the metal bridge where they kept the other hostages, Harold observed the unconscious bodies of Lou and Leora His claws grew involuntarily at seeing Lou, the headache from the sonic attack still present and returning with vengeance, demanding retribution. For a moment, he considered finishing what he'd started, his transformed hand flexing with murderous intent. But his damaged antennae captured even more movement now both above and in the tunnel that Ren's group had created. There was no time for indulgences. The emblem, he ordered his mole. The beast regurgitated a small crystal carved with a symbol of the Venmonts, one of Yaino's most prominent houses. Harold took it carefully. It was more than a simple key. It was evidence of the trust his kingdom placed in him. When he placed the emblem on the ancient door, it reacted immediately. Mechanisms hidden for centuries came to life, responding to House Venmont's call. The ancient door opened with a metallic sound that echoed through the spherical structure. Harold took a step toward the tunnel, but stopped when he heard a groan behind him. The other spy was staggering. The blow had done more damage than planned. Blood still flowed freely from his nose, and his eyes couldn't quite focus. "Stay," Harold ordered, his antennae vibrating while analyzing the path ahead. "There are only 6 students with normal beasts in there. My antennae are injured, but I can sense that 2 of them lost their mana signature. But how did they open? If they got in, they could be..." The spy leaned against the wall, still dizzy from the impact. "I don't know," Harold frowned, the chitinous patterns on his face undulating with his expression. "But I don't think they're from Yaino, nor do I think they're strong from what I saw and felt when they were trying to escape those weak guards. Probably the 2 extinguished presences are 2 of those fools. The princess's guards probably already took care of them and left one alive for questioning." A cruel smile formed on his lips while dragging Luna closer. Just 1 princess left with 2 low-level guards and a hostage. If I let myself go a little more... He stopped, an idea forming in his mind distorted by the transformation. "You don't need to follow me. They probably fought among themselves, wore out the guards and the princess. But if she uses the ring..." His grip on Luna's hair tightened, causing the unconscious girl to moan softly. "I'll use this bitch to make the princess lose focus. It'll surely be her with her iron-rank beast who demands to carry the ring. Maybe she won't give me much trouble, or be able to escape with her jumps if she's worried about her friend." The spy watched with growing concern as Harold's features became more bestial while imagining the scene, the transformation spreading further across his face. "The face she'll make when she sees..." Harold laughed, a sound that was more insect than human. The chitinous segments on his face expanded, his transformation advancing as he entered the tunnel. "Are you sure of that?" The spy began trying to stand, but Harold was no longer listening. Too easy, he thought while advancing, dragging Luna, a frightened iron-rank princess, 2 tired guards. His antennae vibrated with anticipation, ignoring the warning signals, trying to pierce through his mind intoxicated by power. All he could think about was the reward he would receive for delivering not 1, not 2, but 3 prisoners of such value. The tunnel curved ahead, and Harold could sense presences. A predatory smile formed on his deformed face as he prepared for his triumphant entrance. Ren couldn't stop thinking about Larissa's words. Could he really kill someone? His hand trembled remembering the fury he had felt when the guard threatened Min. How for a moment he had been willing to... The memory of that rage frightened him almost as much as the situation itself. Larissa interrupted his thoughts with a whimper, holding the 2 potions her traitorous guards had given her. "It's not fair. Why do I have to be the only one in trouble?" she murmured sadly, but with a small air of happiness. She looked at them with accusing eyes while they avoided her gaze. Min and Taro scratched their heads, pretending sudden interest in the metallic walls that surrounded them. The moment of levity shattered when they felt a wave of power emerging from outside the seed. A door had opened, but the mana emanating from one of the tunnels. "Abyssal," Larissa whispered, her mineral fairy detecting the corruption in the energy, its wings trembling at the tainted power. Everyone tensed. The guards, despite their exhaustion, immediately positioned themselves in front of Larissa, their beasts barely beginning to regenerate. "Don't be foolish." Larissa tried to push them aside. "You barely have mana. Your beasts haven't even fully reformed." "Our duty is to protect you," they responded firmly, though their stances betrayed their mana fatigue. Ren stepped forward, his Hydra armor manifesting in brilliant crystalline scales with glowing veins now even more imposing due to the ring's addition. "Stay back. I'll handle this." "But you?" Larissa began, evident concern in her voice. Ren hesitated for a moment. Could he really kill someone even if they were an abyssal? The idea turned his stomach and sent chills down his spine, but he clenched his teeth and fists. This wasn't the time for doubts. His carapace began to shine with increasing intensity, his mushroom's light veins feeding the Hydra's light power. The figure that emerged from the tunnel was monstrous, a hybrid of human, an insect that dragged something. No. Someone. Ren's eyes fixed on Luna, unconscious and bleeding, her hair being used cruelly as a leash by that abomination. Something changed inside him. "Luna!" Larissa's scream seemed distant as fury flooded through Run, the internal light of his mushroom still traveling through his body in numerous small veins exploded, feeding a power he shouldn't be able to use yet. The consumed ring's enhancement resonated with his rage, amplifying the luminous energy to impossible levels. The Hydra's light beam manifested in all its destructive glory. Harold barely had time to register the strange situation as he was blinded by an intense radiance. His injured antennae caught the danger too late. He had been so sure of his victory that he hadn't noticed the sudden accumulation of power. Luna awakened at that moment, feeling the intense light. With the last remnant of her mana, she created a shadow behind Harold and clutched his leg, anchoring him in place for another small instant. The beam pierced through Harold like a miniature sun, its purifying light tearing through the abyssal corruption like divine judgment made manifest. Chapter 169, Killer Tamer 2. In his final moments, Harold saw his life flash before his eyes. The orphanage in Yino, cold and desolate, where shadows seemed longer and darkness deeper than anywhere else. The day the Venmonts adopted him. The first time he felt hope bloom in his chest like a fragile flower. Years of brutal training, painful modifications, all to please a father who never. The thought remained unfinished when the beam of light finished consuming his torso. What remained was barely recognizable as human. The lower half of a charred body, part monster, part man, smoking on the metallic floor. The acrid smell of a burned body filled the air. "Luna!" Larissa ran to her cousin, who lay there after anchoring Harold with her last shadow and physical effort, her normally perfect composure shattered by genuine fear for her family. Min followed immediately, his snake manifesting to begin the healing process, its scales gleaming with restorative energy. Taro and the guards also approached, forming a protective circle around the girls, their bodies tense despite their exhaustion. But Rin collapsed to his knees, his eyes fixed on what remained of Harold. His hands trembled uncontrollably while the glowing lines across his body began to fade from the massive energy expenditure of his powerful attack. His voice was barely a whisper. The Hydra armor retracted and his mushrooms appeared in his hair, pulsing softly as if trying to console him, but reflecting a dimmer, sadder light, their usual cheerful glow muted by their tamer's emotional turmoil. "She's alive." Min's voice cut to the fog in his mind. "Luna will be fine." Larissa held Luna's hand while Min worked, but her eyes were fixed on Run. She had heard about this before. Her brother had told her that something could be seen in warriors' eyes and mana after their first real kill, that you could see someone's true yin or yang nature. When Min finished healing Luna, Larissa approached Run. "You saved her life," she said softly, her voice gentle with understanding. "Maybe all of ours." Rin nodded mechanically, but his eyes remained on the charred remains. How old had the transformed tamer been? Had he had a family like Ren's? Would his mother and father miss him? "It was him or us," one of the guards added, her voice kinder than it had been before. The hostility from earlier completely gone, replaced by something like sympathy. "You had no choice." "You're right. There was no choice," Rin murmured, remembering how fury had consumed him upon seeing Luna injured. But had there really been no other option? Or had he simply let rage decide for him? Was he still able to become a good man like his mother and father had asked him to be? "Thank you," Larissa smiled weakly, "for not hesitating." Ren felt tears beginning to form. He hadn't hesitated, no. And that was what frightened him the most. But Min called them, momentarily distracting Ren from his dark thoughts. Luna opened her eyes slowly, her vision focusing on the worried faces surrounding her. "The other guards," she mumbled, trying to sit up. "They're badly hurt. They need help, quickly." Larissa helped her up, while Min considered the injured guard with concern. His snake had already expended much energy healing Luna, its scales dull from the effort. "I don't know if I have enough mana left," Min admitted, biting his lip. Run, who had been staring into space, seemed awake at this. His eyes lit up. Here was something good he could do, something that might slightly reduce his guilt. "Min," he quickly approached his friend, "I can help." "Yes, but my snake's mana is different from your beast's, and I know exactly how it works," Rin continued, his mushrooms pulsing as he concentrated. "I know the pattern of each type of mana. I can transfer some of mine to you." "Is that possible?" Taro asked, momentarily forgetting the situation out of pure curiosity. "It's very difficult," one of the guards commented. "The mana of different beasts isn't usually compatible. But Rin knows the patterns," Min smiled, beginning to understand. "Like when he helped us with our cultivation." Rin nodded, placing a hand on Min's shoulder. His glowing lines, relic of the consumed ring, began to pulse with a specific rhythm. "It's like directing a river into a lake," he explained as his mana flowed into Min. Min's snake began to glow with renewed energy, its scales brightening with borrowed power. "It's working!" Min exclaimed excitedly. Larissa observed how Rin concentrated on the task, noting how his hands no longer trembled. The group advanced down the corridor Harold had used, their footsteps echoing on the ancient metal. When they reached the exit, they didn't have to search long before finding 3 bundles wrapped in some kind of organic material. When they opened one of the coverings, "Leora!" Larissa rushed forward upon recognizing her cousin's face. Luna also seemed surprised or pretended not to care too much when Larissa announced she was merely unconscious. They assumed all 3 were Herald hostages, as like Luna, he surely intended to take Leora to Yino as well. Taro summoned his living tunnel, which carefully lifted the 3 unconscious but breathing hostages. "I'll carry them," he offered. "We need to find the guards quickly." Luna tried to move faster, but stumbled. "I'll heal them, I promise," Min decided, his snake still glowing with the energy Rin had transferred. "They could be—" No one completed the sentence. They couldn't sense the mana signatures, since the guards were knocked out. They climbed toward the seed's upper section, supporting themselves on the metal bridges. The silence was oppressive as they searched. "Here!" one of Larissa's guards shouted. The first fallen guard lay near fragments of coral crystal, her breathing barely visible. Min knelt immediately, his snake beginning to work. "Over there," Rin pointed, his mushrooms pulsing as they detected signs of life. "There's another." They found the second guard surrounded by withered roots, her skin showing acid burns. Min's snake hissed with concern. The wounds were deep. "Come on," Min murmured as he worked. "Come on." Color slowly began returning to the guards' faces. Another. Luna pointed to a corner where the Firefly guard lay motionless, a deep wound in her back. Min moved as quickly as he could, but his hands trembled from the effort. He had healed too many serious injuries today. But one was still missing. Larissa found a goat guard, her ears bleeding slightly. Min's remaining mana didn't seem sufficient. The light faded. The girl began to convulse. One more time. Rin put his hand on Min's shoulder, his last mana reserves flowing into the snake. Gradually, the girl began to calm. The glowing lines on Ren's body started flickering while more and more presences accumulated outside the cracks. He could sense dozens of perception beasts probing the area. There are many, he mumbled, his vision beginning to blur. He had spent too much mana, the light beam, repeatedly transferring energy to Min. Taro barely managed to catch him when his legs finally gave out. The mushrooms in his hair gave one last weak pulse before vanishing. "Ren!" Min approached worriedly, but his snake was also exhausted after so many healings. Taro's living tunnel added run to its load of wrapped bundles. The guard began waking one by one, disoriented but alive. The last to open her eyes was the Firefly guard. "The princess," she whispered. "Safe." Larissa knelt beside her to show she was all right. We're all safe. Should we dig another exit? Taro asked, looking nervously toward the cracks where they could sense the growing concentration of people outside. Maybe we could... Luna began but stopped. No, it's useless. There's no point in hiding anymore. Larissa nodded. Everyone will know who was involved by now. The group headed toward the tunnel run Taro had originally created. It was the widest path, and at this point, trying to sneak away would only make them appear more suspicious. When they approached the crack, however, they froze in their tracks. There, looking directly at them with an unreadable expression, was Julius's face. "I believe," said the prince after a long moment, "that you have much to explain. Chapter 170, Taming Punishment. A little before the fight's resolution, Director Ignatius paced back and forth, worry growing with each passing minute. The girls still hadn't returned with news, and their presences continued to be detected far from the planned interception point. Why are they taking so long? He thought while his phoenix stirred beneath his skin, responding to his unease. The beast's agitation only heightened his own anxiety. That's when he felt it. A disturbance in the mana with the unmistakable mark of abyssal corruption. His muscles tensed instantly, but something was different this time. At least it's not as powerful as the last intruder, he muttered, remembering the gold rank agent's intrusion. Maybe I should go. If the rank is low the terrain, maybe can't. His thoughts were interrupted when an auxiliary arrived running. "Director," the man panted, clearly having sprinted with all his might. "We found a tunnel in the iron rank student's food storage." Ignatius internally cursed himself for the poor surveillance at that point. The place had seemed so unimportant that... He shook his head. This was no time for self-recrimination. No time for regrets, he told himself. Did anyone follow the tunnel already? Yes, sir, the auxiliary nodded. But, as if responding to his words, another auxiliary appeared just after a little while, his face grim. The crack in the mana crystal wall at the tunnel's end is too small, he reported. We can't pass through. And, he hesitated a moment, Lady Luna entered before I could stop her. The director froze. The crystal structure they'd mentioned, it was the kingdom's last seed. Calculations based on the crystal's thickness and the pattern of the previous ones indicated it shouldn't open for at least 10 more years. Why now? He murmured. What changed? The auxiliaries exchanged worried looks while the director considered his options. The abyssal presence wasn't as strong as last time, but if they were trying to get the ring and the potions... I'm going down, he finally decided. Organize a massive excavation with all Earth element professors and auxiliaries. I want all entrances blocked. All of them, sir? There are more than... All of them. Ignatius began moving. If we can't enter through the crack, at least we won't let anyone escape. And if there are intruders in there... His eyes gleamed dangerously. They won't get out alive. The auxiliaries dispersed quickly, transmitting orders. Within minutes, the sound of digger beasts began resonating throughout the academy. Students were evacuated, while tamers specialized in earth and rock began their work. Luna is in there, thought the director. And the new students, Julius will kill me if anything happens to his. He could only hope that, whatever was happening inside the seed, the girls could handle it until reinforcements arrived. The director was organizing the excavation squad when another auxiliary came running. Director, we found another tunnel entrance that goes to the mana barrier. It's wider and strange. Strange how? The director turned, his attention captured. It's a tunnel coated in living crystal, the auxiliary explained, gesturing animatedly. But it's far above the mana range where these beasts should appear. Wei, who had been beside the director, opened his eyes in surprise. The mushroom boy, he muttered, drawing everyone's attention. It has to be him. The student who won the bet against you? The director frowned. Yes. Wei clenched his fists. He's been acting suspicious from the start. Let me go down with you, director. The director considered the suggestion for a moment before reluctantly nodding. If the student was involved, a deafening screech interrupted his thoughts. It wasn't a common cry. The sound resonated with pure power, making every beast in the area shudder. The very air seemed to vibrate with its intensity. Looking up, they saw a massive figure descending upon them, a golden giant eagle. its plumage shining with the intensity of a gold rank 2 beast, approached with imposing majesty. Its wingspan cast shadows across the academy grounds. 3 figures jumped from its back before it touched earth. Zhao, Julius, the director, recognized the professor and the prince. And Victor, one of Julius's older brothers and owner of the giant eagle, nodded gravely. His beast perched behind him, its golden eyes scanning the area with predatory intelligence. "This time we'll join the hunt from the beginning," Julius declared, his voice leaving no room for arguments. No more waiting for slow reports. The director noticed the tension in his posture. Of course, his protégés were down there. "They say the tunnel is this way." Wei pointed, eager to begin. Victor placed a hand on his brother's shoulder. "We'll find them." The group headed toward the mines. This time, thought the director, they wouldn't let anyone escape. Larissa froze upon seeing Julius's face in the crack. Her mind, which moments ago had been planning how to explain the entire disaster, went completely blank. The situation worsened when a hand appeared and pushed Julius's head aside. Victor's face peered through the crack, his eyes widening in surprise at finding his little sister inside such important ruins. "Larissa," Victor's voice sounded strangely calm, which only made her more nervous. "Get out of there. Now!" Larissa looked around. Everyone who wasn't knocked out averted their gaze. Would she have to explain everything alone? Harold's partially destroyed body, the injured guards, unconscious run, the packages carried by Taro's living tunnel, and the artifacts that... "Am I going to get scolded?" she asked in a small voice, like when she was younger and got caught asking the kitchen maids for sweets. Julius appeared again in the crack, pushing Victor. "No, we're not going to..." "Liar," Larissa interrupted, pointing at him accusingly. "This time is different." Julius tried to sound convincing. "We just want to..." "Mana doesn't lie." Larissa crossed her arms. Victor couldn't contain a chuckle, which earned him an elbow from Julius. "Larissa," Julius tried again, his voice mixing authority and pleading. "There was a Yino spy in there, right? I can't sense their presence anymore. Could you come out and explain everything that happened? Promise you won't punish me." Larissa pointed with a trembling finger. "I can't promise anything without knowing what. You have to promise." Victor pushed Julius aside again. "Listen, little demon." His tone was more amused and severe. "If you come out now, I promise not to let Julius punish you too much." "Too much." Larissa narrowed her eyes. Define too much. Chapter 171, Taming Truth. After Julius and Victor convinced Larissa and the other kids to come out, the academy guards acted swiftly. The children, both conscious and unconscious, were directly transported to a secure room in the academy's most protected area. The term secure was a polite euphemism for what it really was. An interrogation chamber adapted for minors, though decorated with soft furnishings and warm colors to mask its true purpose. "Do we really need this many guards here?" Julius observed the security deployment around the secure room with disgust. "They're just children. Children who defeated a Yino transformed spy." Victor leaned against the wall, his eyes fixed on the closed door, one with an abyssal beast. "Defeated?" Julius let out a dry laugh. Someone or something tore him apart. But he was only silver rank 1. This is excessive. The initial priority had been investigating the seed. With adults unable to enter through the cracks due to their size, they sent small beasts specialized in reconnaissance. The creatures worked efficiently, transmitting vital information back to their tamers. The director approached with a preliminary report. "Sir," he addressed Victor, "the reconnaissance beast confirmed Princess Larissa's story. The body, what remains of it, shows clear signs of abyssal corruption. The transformation fused with his flesh permanently." "Like the last one," Julius murmured. "No!" The director shook his head. "This one was different. Weaker, yes, but the fusion was deeper, as if it had almost completely lost control." Victor straightened, suddenly more interested, as if the beast was transforming into the tamer. The silence that followed was heavy. Julius closed his eyes, his expression darkening. What they found confirmed Larissa's first rush words. Harold's partially charred body lay where someone or something had defeated him, the remains of his abyssal transformation still visible in the carbonized flesh. The Gold Crest traders. Victor spat the name like poison. And Yino experimenting on children. Now we have proof. Julius smiled humorlessly. The body. The papers showing they forced a spy into the academy. Larissa's testimony. Larissa's preliminary testimony, though carefully edited to protect Run, provided the necessary context. Harold had been a Yino agent, infiltrated into the academy thanks to the Gold Crests. The evidence was undeniable. For the first time in years, they had tangible proof against one of the kingdom's 3 most powerful families. Victor struck the wall with such force that the stone cracked. Enough. His voice was pure ice. This ends now. No, brother, you know that we need more than this. Julius tried to reason. The Gold Crests have too much influence and power. Besides, even with absolute proof, as long as Father doesn't return, we fighting them alone would just end up creating the perfect situation for Yino's invasion. And too many questions remained unanswered. In a secure room, surrounded by guards with beasts specialized in perception, the children slept unaware of the chaos they had unleashed. The Mushroom Boy also slept deeply, not knowing that his actions to explore and save Luna had changed the kingdom's balance of power. Although the room seemed comfortable, with soft beds and pleasant decoration, the truth was evident in the guards' watchful eyes. No one would leave until every question was answered. The children had been separated into 2 rooms, one for the girls and another for the boys. In the girls' room, "It's about time you tell us the truth, little demon. What happened to the ring?" Julius kept his voice soft while observing Larissa. This was the most important situation of all and had priority, but they had searched their bodies and no one had it. The princess, seated with her cousins and guards in the elegantly decorated room, smiled with feigned innocence. It disappeared. "Larissa, it's true," she protested. "I literally saw it disappear. One moment it was there, and the next she made a vague gesture with her hands." "Who defeated the spy?" Victor tried another angle. "An elemental light attack." Larissa responded without hesitation. The light beam pierced through him. "And where did this powerful light come from?" "Only you or Lucy can use that element among those present, and you're not at that level." "The beam came from inside the seed, of course." Larissa blinked with confused expression. "Where else could it come from?" Luna coughed to hide a smile. Her cousin was in her element, telling incomplete truths with the innocence of someone who never breaks a plate. Even Luna didn't know exactly where the attack had come from. She had only seen the flash and acted on instinct. Leora had been knocked out, so also knew nothing. Julius and Victor exchanged frustrated looks. Each of Larissa's answers was technically true, but they felt she was still hiding something important. How many potions exactly remain? Julius tried to be specific. 7. Larissa responded cheerfully and without hesitation. Her mineral fairy glowed slightly, while her brothers detected that she wasn't lying. 2 belong to me by right, and 5 are Ren's groups. Why does the boy have more? Can you explain the discovery situation? Victor arched an eyebrow. Of course. There were 2 groups who entered, mine and Ren's. Ren entered first, so he had priority, but he gifted us 2. The potions, like any artifact, belong to the Yano citizen who finds them first. And the other 3? Julius leaned forward. Oh, Ren's group used them immediately. Larissa waved her hand dismissively. Well, 2 of them in Ren. Luna observed her cousin with interest. It wasn't exactly a lie, but did the Mushroom Boy not take 1? Victor straightened, suddenly more attentive. Yes, he took it from the pedestal. Larissa nodded while playing with her dress. The potions belong to them, so they'll be made nobles and can use them as they want, right? But the 2 you have, Julius began, are mine to distribute. Larissa interrupted firmly. 2 belong to me even if by tradition. I'm not allowed to use them directly, but as the princess I am, I'll ensure they're used appropriately and justly. Also, the other 5 are Ren's groups. Appropriately and justly? Victor crossed his arms. They always are for the men of the royal family, of course. Larissa smiled innocently. It's tradition that whoever finds them distributes them to the men of the family, isn't it? Like the ones Father keeps in the castle and hasn't distributed yet. Julius and Victor exchanged looks. It was a difficult argument to refute. Chapter 172, Taming Truth 2. Appropriately and justly, Victor crosses arms. They always are for men of the royal family, of course. Larissa smiled innocently. It's tradition that whoever finds them distributes them to the men of the family, isn't it? Like the ones father keeps in the castle, and hasn't distributed yet. Julius and Victor exchanged looks. It was a difficult argument to refute. Their little sister had masterfully turned their own family's rules against them. Even so, Victor tried another angle, his fingers drumming an agitated rhythm against his arm as he searched for leverage, considering the situation. "Oh, they'll be perfectly safe with me," Larissa interrupted, her voice carrying the perfect blend of childish enthusiasm and royal authority. She straightened in her chair, every inch the princess despite her youth. After all, who better to guard something so important than a princess? And when father returns and decides which brothers are worthy of the ones he had saved for so long. Fine, but the ring whereabouts are more important. Julius changed topics. The loss of such a powerful artifact couldn't be dismissed so easily. Where is it? As I said before, it disappeared. Larissa maintained her smile, though a mischievous glint sparkled in her eyes. Poof, right in front of us. She wiggled her fingers in an exaggerated magical gesture. Larissa, it's the truth, she insisted, her mineral fairy glowing softly beneath her skin like validating her words. You can ask anyone who was there. One moment it was there, and the next, poof. She made the gesture again, clearly enjoying their discomfort. Larissa, Victor's voice carried the weight of exasperation built up through years of dealing with his clever sister. This is serious? If a beast stored inside someone's body, you need to tell us. I know, she nodded with exaggerated solemnity, though amusement danced in her eyes. That's why I'm being so precise with the details. No, beast stored it. Nobody hid it. Besides, your voice is rising, and you promised not to scold me if I only told the truth. Right on cue, tears began welling in her eyes, a performance worthy of the Royal Theater. Victor looked away, caught between embarrassment at falling for her act and admiration for her skill. He began pacing the room, his boots clicking against the polished floor. The potions, he muttered, searching for any angle of attack. Fine, they're yours according to our king's rules, so you can keep them. But the ring no longer exists. Larissa shrugged with perfect nonchalance. So there's nothing to look for. She was telling the truth. Julius finally stood, recognizing defeat in this particular battle. The potions, he conceded, can stay with you as Victor said, but this conversation about the ring isn't over, and you haven't escaped punishment yet. In another room, far from the royal drama, the spy posing as a hostage answered similar questions with his own brand of careful truth-telling. The interrogation room masqueraded as a comfortable study, with plush chairs and warm lighting designed to put students at ease. But the spy noted every detail that betrayed its true purpose, the slight angle of the chair that gave the interrogator psychological advantage, the carefully positioned lights that would make facial tells more visible, the barely perceptible hum of detection beasts in the walls. Unlike the room where the princess held court with her family, this space carried no pretense of deference. The consequences here could be far more severe. As other students awakened, they were systematically separated and questioned. The spy knew this performance would determine not just survival, but the successive years of careful planning that had been made just so they could keep getting information as a normal student. "Did you see who attacked you?" asked the guard, his tone carefully calibrated to convey sympathy. "Yes." The spy touched his partially healed face, allowing genuine pain to color their expression. The bruises Harold had left were a gift. Real injuries made deception so much easier. But everything happened so fast. Harold hit me when I tried to stop him. Stop him? Yes, he coughed, the wetness and the sound perfectly calculated. When I saw he had hostages, I prevented him from killing them. I tried. Another cough interrupted the words. I tried to do the right thing. The guard made a note in his book, the scratching of his pen unnaturally loud in the quiet room. And the ring? The potions? I don't know. The spy let vulnerability seep into the words. Years of training, making it easy to tremble at just the right moment. I was outside the ruins when everything happened. Every word was true, but danger still lurked. The school's thorough investigation had revealed hollows throughout the academy, hidden spaces concealed by various coverings. Grass and moss, minerals, spider webs, even beast shells. A network of hideaways that raised too many questions. The interrogator studied the student before him, trying to catch the smallest tell, the slightest hesitation. The covering in the tunnel, he began without preamble, placing several samples on the table between them, is similar to others we found in the last few hours around the academy. The injured student nodded weakly, allowing genuine fatigue to show. Not surprising given how Harold made me cover him. Many students can make coverings. Each word was true, yet revealed nothing of importance. But yours is the one used this time. The interrogator's fingers traced the edge of one sample, perfect for containing mana signatures, or for protecting people. The student coughed again, the sound carrying just the right note of pain, like I tried to do when I saw what Harold was planning. Many other covers can contain mana too. Why didn't you alert the guards? With what time? A pained smile crossed the bruised face, the expression carefully crafted to show both sincerity and trauma. Everything happened so fast. I saw Harold acting strange, followed him, and when I understood what was happening, another perfectly timed cough. Well, you've seen how that ended. Why did he hit you? Because he wanted to. Because he lost control. The student gestured at his bruises, using them as both shield and evidence. Isn't it obvious? Did you know Harold well? No. He was a classmate. Another careful truth, delivered with practiced casualness. The interrogator leaned forward. The coverings we found, some have been there for months. The academy is big, the student smiled weakly, and many of us can make coverings. Some use them to hide and sleep between classes. Like you, sometimes. Another truth, darkness can be very comfortable with a good hammock in a hollow. Many of the coverings have the same base. The material is common. The student maintained his composure, letting exhaustion do the work of hiding any tension. My beast produces it, yes, but others have the same. Check the beast registry, if you want. Oh, we did. The interrogator's smile carried a predatory edge. There are 33 students who can produce organic coverings similar to those found. See? Not so special. But only 11 can make them this resistant. Practice makes perfect. The student's weak smile never wavered. When you spend so much time practicing coverings, studying and resting, another truth that revealed nothing. The covering is just for comfort and avoiding punishment from the auxiliaries. Did you know Harold had an abyssal beast? What? The student allowed genuine surprise to show. I just saw him transform into something horrible. I thought it was a failed cultivation, and you still try to stop him? I didn't think much, the student letting shame color the voice. I saw he had hostages and acted on instinct. It was stupid, I know. Very stupid. The interrogator nodded slowly. Or very brave. The question is, which was it? Considering how I ended up, the student gestured at the injuries, using them one final time as both shield and proof. I'm leaning towards stupid. Very well. The interrogator rose with deliberate slowness. Rest. We may have more questions later. I'll be here, the student indicated with resigned humor. Not like I can go anywhere else. As the interrogator left, he couldn't help but admire the student's performance. Every answer had been truth, every explanation logical and simple. The story was perfect, too perfect perhaps. The mushrooms in Ren's hair pulsed weakly when he finally opened his eyes, their dim light barely illuminating his pale face. Where am I? He murmured while trying to focus his vision, the elegant room swimming before him like a dream. Run! Min jumped from his bed, relief breaking through his usual composure. Finally, lower your voice. Taro glanced nervously toward the door where 2 guards maintained their silent vigil. They're observing us. Ren sat up slowly, taking in their surroundings. The room was beautiful, with rich furnishings and tasteful decoration, but the walls themselves seemed to hum with the energy of detection beasts, their presence a constant reminder that this comfortable prison was still very much a cage. Chapter 173, Taming Truth 3. Rin sat up slowly, taking in their surroundings. The room was beautiful, with rich furnishings and tasteful decoration. But the walls themselves seemed to hum with the energy of detection beasts, their presence a constant reminder that this comfortable prison was still very much a cage. To his surprise, the potion sat untouched beside his bed. They hadn't taken them away. His gaze drifted to the adjacent bed, where a familiar figure lay. Lou! Rin noticed his roommate's dejected expression on the nearby bed. Are you all right? Define all right. Lou attempted a smile that came out more like a grimace, his usual cheerfulness nowhere to be found. Are you still hurt? Does anything pain you? Not really, maybe just my ego. Lou tried to smile again, but only managed a twisted expression. His eyes fixed on the floor, unable to meet Ren's gaze. I tried to stop him, you know? When I saw he had a girl. You saved her, Min interjected softly, his voice gentle but firm. Lou shook his head, self-loathing evident in every movement. It wasn't enough. That attack you taught me. Run. I think I executed it perfectly, concentrated the sonar just like you explained, but his voice cracked slightly. I only managed to get myself knocked out. Couldn't even help her. You're wrong, Rin straightened, his voice carrying absolute conviction. Think about it. He must have been disoriented when he fought after your attack. His movements probably clumsier. You gave enough time to prevent worse outcomes. Prevented deaths. We can't know for certain, but I believe. But... No, listen, Rin pressed on, refusing to let his friend wallow in self-doubt. Luna and her guards probably only managed to resist because he wasn't at full capacity. Your attack weakened him, damaged his senses, affected his balance. We barely had time to find the guards, so surely you gave them just enough time. Time Min needed to heal them, Taro added, backing up Ren's assessment. Lou lifted his gaze, a spark of hope breaking through his defeated expression. You really think I helped that much? I don't think I know, Rin smiled warmly. In fact, he paused, weighing his next words carefully. I've been thinking about what to do with the remaining potions. Those 5 you have left? You're not selling them to kill Finch and Theodore with a heart attack. Min asked jokingly, though having received one himself, he suspected he knew the answer. No, 2 are for my parents. Rin began counting on his fingers. 1 definitely goes to Lynn. She's more than earned it. But the other 2, Lou blinked in confusion, not daring to hope. Why are you telling me this? Because I think you've earned one, Rin responded simply, though the weight of his words filled the room. What you did today, I don't think just anyone would do that. But I failed. Lou's gaze dropped again, shame evident in his posture. You didn't fail, you stubborn fool. Rin shook his head emphatically. You gave them a chance. Without your intervention, without the damage you caused them, the girls might have... But a potion to become a double tamer. It's too valuable. Those of us in the Grey Wing need to help each other. Rin shrugged, as if giving away a priceless artifact was the most natural thing in the world. What you did today proved you're someone valuable. Besides, he added with a theatrical gesture, what better use than giving it to a friend who's already proven he'll use his power to help others? Lou opened his mouth to protest, but closed it again. His eyes moistened slightly with unshed tears. He began, his voice trembling with emotion. I don't know what to say. Say you'll accept it. Rin smiled warmly. And that next time you see someone in trouble, you'll have double the power so you can help better. Min and Taro observed the exchange in respectful silence, understanding the weight of the moment. This wasn't just a gift, it was recognition. Thank you. Lou finally managed, his voice firmer now. I promise I'll use it well and repay you many times over. I know. Rin nodded with absolute certainty. That's why I'm giving it to you. Although, Lou smiled weakly, some of his usual humor returning, I still think I should have practiced that attack more. Oh, trust me, Rin laughed, the sound lightening the mood. We'll have plenty of time to practice. After all, I'm going to need your help getting rich, since I won't be selling any of the potions. Min and Taro exchanged meaningful looks before moving closer to Ron, their expressions turning serious. Listen, Min lowered his voice to barely above a whisper. There are some things you need to know before they come to interrogate you like they did us. Princess Larissa explained us about lie detection, Taro continued in the same hushed tone, about what to say and what not to. Oh, yes, I know how it works. What did you tell them? They shared the official version they'd maintained. The three truths they needed to protect. The role each had played in the story they constructed. So, Rin repeated the information carefully. The light beam came from the center of the chamber? Exactly. Min nodded, and the ring simply disappeared. Nobody saw it after, Taro added. One moment it was there, the next it wasn't. And about Larissa's potion, Min murmured conspiratorially. Technically, she wasn't the one who took it, Taro completed. Lou watched them curiously from his bed. What are you all whispering about? Just confirming what happened. Min straightened, returning to a normal volume. Don't worry about it. You don't know anything because you were knocked out, and that's better. Ah, yes. Lou deflated slightly again. After that bastard hit me, everything went dark. By the way, can someone explain exactly what happened after I blacked out? As his friend began recounting the subsequent events, Rin noticed the guards outside and in the walls seemed particularly interested in their conversation. Perfect. Letting them hear this version of events would only strengthen their cover story. It was incredible, Min was saying with carefully measured enthusiasm. Suddenly, there was this brilliant light from the center of the chamber, and the bad guy just disintegrated. Taro completed, gesturing dramatically. Such a shame about the ring. Min sighed theatrically. It just disappeared. As if it had never existed. Taro nodded solemnly. The mushrooms in Ren's hair pulsed softly as he listened to the story. His friends had become surprisingly good at lying with the truth. By the way, Lou coughed lightly, I heard them talking about making you nobles or something. Apparently it's the law. Taro shrugged with feigned nonchalance. Something about finding ancient artifacts. Though first we have to get through more interrogations. Min grimaced. It's not so bad. Lou tried to smile encouragingly. Just have to tell the truth. The guards at the door shifted, apparently satisfied with what they'd heard. The story remained consistent. The mysterious beam, the vanished ring, the 3 used potions. The other girls knew almost nothing of importance. Luna, Leora, and the 4 guards had no trouble sharing everything. The only 2 guards who seemed to know something only repeated what Larissa had said. Finally, it was Ren's turn. Chapter 174, Taming Truth 4. The interrogation room was different from the elegant cell. Smaller, more intimate, with a round table that pretended to create a false sense of quality between its occupants. The lighting was again carefully arranged to reveal facial expressions, while the walls hummed with detection beast energy. Ren observed the 5 men seated before him. They'd given him the VIP treatment, with the highest number of important figures trying to extract information. Each of them carried themselves differently. Authority wrapped around them like cloaks of varying weights. His mushrooms pulsed softly, capturing the nuances in their expressions, the subtle tells that betrayed their thoughts. Zhao was the first to speak, his voice warm as the last time they'd met. I'm glad to return and see you're well, Ran. You worried us when you wouldn't wake up. Genuine concern colored his words. Wei shifted uncomfortably in his seat as the one with the lower standing and rank. His eyes avoided looking directly at Ran, as if afraid of what he might discover. Let's start at the beginning. Director Ignatius leaned forward, his presence commanding attention. Why were you in the depths? Seeking wealth and secrets, as our king likes, right? Rin responded naturally, his tone carrying the perfect blend of innocence and truth. As always. As always. Victor arched an eyebrow, studying the child that everyone seemed to treat so differently. A first-year student with a spore frequents the depths. As always. Oh, yes. Zhao smiled, pride evident in his voice. Ren has a special talent for exploring. He's practically a genius. During our expedition, this isn't a social gathering, Zhao. Wei interrupted sharply. His hands trembled slightly, betraying his agitation. The boy was where he shouldn't have been so early in the morning. Was he? Julius intervened, his voice soft but firm. From what I hear, you weren't giving your class, and technically, they created a safe entrance from the permitted level. He didn't break any specific rules if he was above 200 meters with a bronze 1 student. Victor observed the exchange with growing interest. Why was his brother defending the child? The light. The director resumed the interrogation. Where did it come from? From the center of the chamber, Rin replied, his voice innocent. It was very bright, and I know because I was right there. The silence that followed was dense. The 5 adults exchanged looks, knowing they had to ask the other questions if they wanted different information. Did you take one of the potions? The director finally asked. Oh, I took many for myself, not just one. Rin nodded while his mushrooms pulsed softly. Though we didn't use them all, but I'm already a double tamer. Wei choked on his own saliva. Victor leaned forward, his interest sharpening. Prove it, Julius requested, his voice mixing curiosity and caution. Rin shrugged and manifested his hydra. The crystalline scales gleamed under the room's light, while the adults observed with varying degrees of surprise. A hydra? Victor frowned. Of all possible beasts. It's a rare and respectable beast, the director commented, though his tone suggested certain disappointment. But the potential of a natural double tamer from Aryano. It's a shame, Victor sighed theatrically. If you had waited, the kingdom could have provided something more suitable to your new potential. Rin stroked his hydra scales, seemingly oblivious to the adult's disappointment. I like it. It's strong from the start. I guess it's fine since you only had a spore anyway. But the hydra will only reach silver rank 1, Victor insisted. A double tamer should have aspired to more. By the way, Julius intervened. Did you get the hydra egg for that contract from the Corps you found that day in the depths with me? Yes, Rin smiled. Like the scorpion ones you asked for. I've already have several dozen, but they still need much more mana to finish the process. Julius slapped his forehead with his palm. Run. I didn't need that many scorpions. I thought you would make more variety of monsters. The cores were from scorpions. Rin shrugged innocently. He didn't mention anything about the possibility of changing the core's nature. Not because Julius didn't have suspicions already, but it would have too many implications to hide in this room. You're talking about creating specific eggs from cores? The director asked incredulously. Zhao tried to hide a smile while Wei looked at the ceiling, as if seeking divine patience. About the remaining potions, Victor cleared his throat. The kingdom would be interested in purchasing them. Oh, they're not for sale, Rin shook his head. I'm going to use them all. Victor developed a tick in his eye. It's useless to use more than one potion. It's impossible to have more than 2 beasts by drinking more. It would be a waste. Wei developed an even worse tick. I know, Rin smiled. They're not for me. They're for people I know. He turned to Zhao. In fact, Professor, one is for you. The room fell silent again. Zhao blinked in surprise, while the others processed the declaration. Rin. Victor massaged his temples. Those potions are invaluable. You can't simply. Why not? Rin tilted his head. Larissa told me they're mine, right? Professor Zhao has supported me. He's earned it. The boy has a point. Julius smiled slightly. Technically, he can do whatever he wants with them. Victor looked about to suffer an aneurysm. Do you have any idea of the value of those potions? How much noble families would pay for them? No, Rin shook his head. But I prefer to give them to people I care about. Zhao had to cough to hide his laughter at Victor's horrified expression. It's your right. Julius intervened before his brother could protest further. Wei buried his face in his hands, muttering something that sounded suspiciously like, this illogical child is going to give me a heart attack. Fascinating. Victor reclined in his chair, his irritation transforming into interest. You just rejected a fortune in crystals, political power, and noble favors to give the potions to your teachers and family. And a friend, Rin added casually. A friend? The director arched an eyebrow. Yes, though that's not relevant to this interrogation, is it? Julius observed the child with renewed interest. Under that apparent simplicity and honesty. That's right. What's truly important is, where's the ring? Victor leaned forward. It disappeared, Rin shrugged. Things don't simply disappear. Wei found his voice in a higher pitch than planned. Like impossible evolutions don't exist, Rin smiled innocently. Nor do bet payments disappear. Right, Professor? Wei snapped his mouth shut and sank into his chair, his face pale. Fascinating, Victor murmured, more to himself than the others. Each of you treats him differently. Zhao like a prodigy, Wei like a threat, Julius like, he paused, studying his brother. Like an equal? The boy is unusual, the director admitted. Unusual? Victor laughed. A first-year student enters an ancestral seed, and everyone here seems to have a different opinion about him. He turned to run. Do you know what finding ancestral artifacts means? What? Ren asked innocently. It means the noble families are going to tear you apart. Victor smiled humorlessly, his eyes gleaming dangerously. They'll pressure you, manipulate you, offer you everything you can imagine until you yield. Victor, Julius warned, but his brother ignored him. Do you think this is a game? Victor stood, his gold rank 3 Qilin beginning to manifest. Golden scales appeared on his skin, while an aura of power filled the room. Nobles have spent centuries perfecting the art of getting what they want. Don't you think you're exaggerating with that level of pressure mana here? Zhao tried to intervene. He's just a child that... A child? Victor laughed while advancing toward Run. His beast's power grew, making the air itself seem denser. A child who somehow reached an ancestral seed. A child who has many double potions. A child who hides the most important ring relic of... He stopped abruptly. Something was resonating with his power. Ren had begun to glow, but it wasn't the normal glow of a tamer. The lines of light coursing through his body seemed to respond to the Qilin's pressure, as if something inside him recognized the power. And then it appeared. The tiny mushroom manifested atop Ren's head, its large eyes observing Victor with what seemed like hunger. Chapter 175, Taming Truth 5. Ren had begun to glow, but it wasn't the normal glow of a tamer. The lines of light coursing through his body seemed to respond to the Qilin's pressure, as if something inside him recognized the power. And then it appeared. The tiny mushroom manifested atop Ren's head, its large eyes observing Victor with what seemed like hunger. The expression was so unexpected on its chubby, childlike face that for a moment no one quite knew how to react. The adults froze in place. The creature was absurd with its round cheeks and tiny arms, but there was something about it that didn't match any known beast. A quality that defied classification. The spore evolution they knew was different, much larger and thinner. This was something else entirely. But then something even stranger occurred. The energy flooding the room began to swirl, as if drawn to an invisible point. The lines of light in Ren's body pulsed with ancient power. The director and Julius also felt their beasts resonate involuntarily. The Phoenix and the Qilin responding to the pressure of power far older than themselves. The tiny creature opened its chubby mouth and began to absorb. Victor's Qilin's power, instead of pressing outward, started flowing toward the mushroom like water into a drain. The intimidating energy transformed as it was consumed, becoming purer, closer to the Qilin's true nature, benevolence, wisdom, compassion. The director's Phoenix resonated as well, its energy of regeneration and life being absorbed and purified until only its essence remained. For a brief instant, in Victor's eyes, the small mushroom seemed to grow, becoming majestic and enormous, like an existence that had witnessed the birth of the world itself. Ancient wisdom peered through those oversized eyes. The prince stepped back, his eyes widening in surprise when his beast reacted not with aggression, but with reverence. The lines in Ren's body glowed more intensely as new energies flowed through his system. He could feel the changes, 10% more in fire control and regeneration, courtesy of the Phoenix. Also 10% in earth control and vitality from the Qilin. 2 slight improvements, and 2 that, curiously, he couldn't use yet. The mushroom, satisfied with its feast of power, opened his mouth again, but Ren felt that now it was to speak. Run, snapping out his amazement, rushed to cover its mouth with his hand. MMPH. The creature protested, its cheeks puffing up adorably, as if it hadn't justified every known law about beasts and mana control. The adults observed in silence, their minds struggling to process what they had just witnessed. Victor especially seemed to be fighting between indignation and a strange sensation of respect he couldn't explain. What just happened? Wei finally managed to ask. Victor took another step back. What in hell is that? Nothing, Rin responded quickly while wrestling with his mushroom. Just my spore, my first beast. Another new beast path, Wei muttered, his face pale. And I could swear it looked like it was going to speak. I must be delirious. Yes, delirious? It wasn't going to speak. Rin lied blatantly while the mushroom continued struggling against his hand. Fortunately, everyone was so distracted by his beast that no one noticed the lie in his eyes. Rin smiled nervously while keeping his mushroom's mouth firmly closed. Julius leaned forward, fascinated. That's not a normal beast. Definitely not a spore anymore, Zhao added. It's just a new cultivation path for the mushroom, Rin insisted. A very normal and common mushroom, that doesn't. The creature bit his hand in protest. Ow! Rin shook his injured hand while the mushroom opened its mouth again. Just then, someone knocked on the door. Rin took advantage to force his beast back into his body. The mushroom disappeared instantly, but left behind the strange, regal atmosphere it had created. The lines in Ren's body faded, though he could feel the new power percentages settling into his system. The 5 adults stared at the empty space, each trying to rationalize what they had seen. Victor's Qilin stirred restlessly, as if remembering something important it couldn't express. Come in, the director managed to say, his voice betraying his bewilderment. Lin entered first, her crane manifesting and slightly enhancing her elegant posture. However, that elegance evaporated when she saw Ren. Ren! She launched herself at him, trapping him in a hug that squeezed all the air from his lungs. Hee! The high-pitched sound that escaped Ren made Victor arch an eyebrow. I brought reinforcements, Lin whispered in his ear, taking advantage of the noise while squeezing him, though her expression turned worried as she indicated someone else had come. But there was an unwanted visitor in her office. Behind her, Selfra Ashenway entered with a grace that only decades of power can bestow. Leora's grandmother, leader of one of the 3 main families, observed the scene with astute eyes. Well, she smiled while approaching. Why are so many important adults bothering a poor child? We're not bothering him, Zhao and Julius responded almost in unison. Wei sank deeper into his chair, as if wanting to disappear. The director straightened, adopting a formal posture. Lady Selfra, he greeted with a bow. We weren't expecting. Of course not, she interrupted him kindly. Behind her, another figure entered the room. Sirius Starweaver, Luna's father, remained near the door, his expression cold and distant. His eyes barely rested on Ren, before returning to Selfra. This doesn't concern you, Victor complained. With all respect, persistent old counselor, this isn't your problem. We're just teaching the lucky boy that fortune isn't always something good. Luck. Sirius showed a flash of interest. What kind of luck? He'll be made noble, Julius responded, studying Luna's father's reaction. Is he already a gold student? Sirius asked, his tone suggesting the answer would determine if he was worth his time and interest. Not yet. Zhao and Julius responded simultaneously, exchanging an amused look at the coincidence. The interest in Sirius's eyes died as quickly as it had appeared. Selfra, we should continue our discussion. This is... One moment. Selfra raised a hand. Why don't you go see your daughter while I help my niece Lin resolve the situation? I'll catch up later to see my granddaughter Leora. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. My daughter is being properly educated at the institution. I didn't come to distract her, Sirius responded with an icy voice. We have more important matters more important than your daughter, who was almost kidnapped. Selfra's smile didn't waver, but her eyes flashed dangerously. Luna is strong, Sirius responded dryly. She doesn't need coddling. Lin squeezed Rin tighter, as if wanting to protect him from the tense atmosphere that had formed. But quickly they felt their bodies relax, breathing in the atmosphere that the mushroom had created. Fascinating, Selfra commented, feeling the atmosphere. Well, since you insist on staying, then you can wait, she turned to Victor. What were you saying about teaching lessons to my future protege?